Fix old cameras. Your successful completion of the demonstrated repair ultimately depends on the quality of your tools, the condition of your camera, and most importantly, your repair ability.
Well, this lens is in great shape, other than the aperture is stuck wide open at 1.4. The aperture lever does not move the aperture. The diaphragm click stops work as they should. The link moves but does not affect the aperture. We'll begin by taking out the slotted screws that hold the back plate on. Make sure you use the right size slot to fit the slots so you don't damage them. With the screws removed, the back bayonet can be removed. As an assembly, we'll check the linkage when you reassemble to make sure that they match up. Two points of consideration. A spanner wrench will remove the lens mount or the lens assembly, rear lens assembly. It'll break it free. You have to be careful. You don't want it to slip off and scratch the lens. Then just once it's loose, just thread it off with your thumb and index finger. Flip it over. Again, use the spanner wrench to break the nameplate ring free and spin it out. Loosen the set screw for the filter thread ring. Follow that up with the filter thread ring. Then another lens group to be removed. By removing the retaining ring, again, be careful not to slip and scratch the lens. Also, be careful not to misshapen the skinny retainer ring. Once the retainer ring's out, the lens can be flipped over and the whole group will fall out. Take note of the brass spacer ring. The lens group inside of the lens group housing will be removed. Again, using the spanner to break it free and always being careful not to scratch the lens. Okay, so now we can work with the aperture mechanism. We'll begin by flushing the mechanism with a quick evaporating contact cleaner. Although not as effective as the contact cleaner, it could also be doused with at least a 91% isopropyl alcohol. It's just going to take several dousings to clear all the old oil out that's causing the apertures to stick. So with a solution of either contact cleaner or alcohol on the blades, work the blades and flush the mechanism until all traces of stickiness is gone. Begin reassembly by resetting the lens group. Don't forget the brass spacer, and note the alignment notch that will be aligned up with the head of the alignment screw. Take the two pieces, being aware of the focusing helical, that it's not accidentally unthreaded. It would take some effort, but it still could be done. And as the pieces align, they should drop into position. Once the lens group housing is seated completely, the retaining screw can be, or not the screw, the retaining ring can be put back into position and carefully thread it as to not cross thread. Once it's threaded in smoothly, give it a tight little snug with the spanner wrench. Then comes a filter ring. Maybe not called the filter ring. How about the filter ring with the threads for the filter, or the filter ring thread, whatever. Once that piece is installed, flip it over to install the rear lens group. Again, always be careful not to cross thread it before threading it all the way in. Now we're going to install the diaphragm ring assembly, and we'll need to connect the linkages as we seat that so that the linkage will actuate the aperture stop down. The hole on the diaphragm control assembly will link to the post on the diaphragm unit itself. The flat post on the diaphragm control unit will link to the U post of the diaphragm unit itself. With it seated properly, the stop-down linkage works and the diaphragm ring changes the apertures as it should. Line up the screw holes and install the retaining screws. No, not the retaining screws. What should we call them? The screws that hold the bayonet, mount, assembly, diaphragm, bayonet, diaphragm, whatever that whole thing is called. Well, we call it the thingamajig attached to the do-whacker, and just follow the steps in the video. With the aperture ring working and the stop down of the aperture working like it should, it's time to finish this baby up. So we'll put the nameplate back in place. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, there's a set screw there. Never mind, just messing around. Snug it up. Well, anyway, install the nameplate ring. Always taking care, never get in a hurry. And then carefully snug it down with a spanner wrench. Now all that's left to do is show it off to your friends. Demonstrate how smoothly the aperture ring operates. How quickly the aperture leaves snap open and closed. They will surely be impressed. And if not, well, what do they know?
Thank you for watching. Inspired? Check back for new video postings.